everything's ready to go. We're going to flick the on switch. And in theory, if I've done everything right for the 5th time, we should get a right to left pattern. G'day mate, welcome back to Factorio with me, JD. So, first off, I think I should apologise. I should apologise for episode 94 being such a long time ago, and now we have episode 95 with the last research being done. I'll come back to you in a second. Episode 94 being such a long time ago, and now episode 95 being now. It's been a long break, mainly because I've been trying to let my wrist heal. If you didn't watch the channel update video, I did something to my wrist. I don't know what, but it suddenly went from okay to not so great to extremely painful. And unfortunately, it was my right wrist, which meant I didn't have fine control over a mouse, which is a little bit of an issue when you're playing games like Factorio. I still had grand crude control of the mouse, but I couldn't do finer things, which meant on a game like Factorio where I'm trying to click on individual squares, it was a little bit awkward. The good news is my right wrist is 50% healed. The bad news is my left wrist is now 50% worse. So, somewhat improvements. Now, the first thing I want to actually cover, there's a couple of things happening in this episode. So, one, we're going to go over the base really quickly. Things I loved about the series, things I hated about the series. Number two, there's a special details, I guess, at the end of the episode, all about the next series. So I really recommend you guys watch right the way to the end. Lastly, there was something that you guys requested a long time ago that I said I'd get around to, and I didn't, and I do want to finish it off before we finish off the series. So, first things first, we're doing 62, 63, 64 UPS. It really depends on what sort of map view I'm at. And if we look up at the map, and we look at the pollution overlay, we did wonders. We have this nice thick red color, which I'm actually, a lot of people requested and suggested after I turn off biters to run a command to get rid of all the pollution, and voila, done. And UPS, maybe 1 or 2 UPS, didn't really make much of a difference. Pollution was vastly optimized between 15, 16, and 17. So pollution doesn't have nearly the amount of calculations it used to. But yeah, by clearing off the pollution, I gained another 1 UPS. With biters turned off, it might as well go. So, this base. This base in this series. I really love this series. I really, really enjoyed it. I really, really liked starting with the New Game Plus mod, even though I sort of had to fudge it because the mod wasn't updated at the time I started the series. But I went through how the mod worked and everything else like that. I enjoyed starting with basic stuff up and running. I enjoyed starting with all the research being done because we've all seen the research 1,000 times over. You know, it's not that hard, it's not that complicated, especially for vanilla games. And I liked that the base was built backwards rather than trying to prioritize along the bus, trying to get science done as fast as possible and have stuff like modules right at the end of the bus with whatever materials you've got left over, which would have been all the way out here. I actually had green circuits, red circuits, blue circuits modules. And then if there was extra leftover material, right about here is where science ended up. Because it was if we've built all the modules and there's still items left on the bus, let's do some science, because why not? So yeah, it was a different way of doing things. Things I hated, 1.4 million solar panels. Oh, every single Megabase. I say it over and over and over. I hate solar. I really wish I could just automate the whole thing and I then never get around to doing it. Solar was the actual bane of my existence once again. I didn't enjoy any part of it. Just coming out here and... The general rule of thumb is however big your base is, your solar should be twice the size. Now, if you want to use modules and beacons, which we have thoroughly, it should be 6 to 10 times the size of your base. Technically, my base is this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this little thing up here. So it's maybe this amount of the solar grid. So 6 times the size for my solar as compared to the rest of my base. Yeah, a massive, not real waste of time, but yeah. It took a long time to build. Alright, I want to grab my train and I want to go there. So yeah, I hate solar. I love that it saves UPS. I'm a little bit peeved still that the graphical update for nuclear with the glowing heat pipes came out like an episode or two before we ripped up all of nuclear. And by then, you know, also starting with New Game Plus and also being on YouTube, I already had night vision. I was running night vision right from day one of the map. It's sort of important so you guys can see what's happening. So I really missed out on the glowing heat pipes. It's probably something I want to play with in the next episode or the next series. So yeah, that was one thing. We're going down to look at a mine because bonuses wise, we just finished mining productivity 99, which gives us plus 10% productivity for each level of the research, which means we have plus 990% mining productivity, which means when we mine one piece of ore, we get a bonus 9.9 pieces of ore, which means that's our mining productivity. And as you can see, it's sort of flying through. A lot of that has to do with how my outposts are set up. And this is one of those things I really enjoyed in this map. The way I designed the outposts, they were really designed to get ore out of the ground as fast as possible. The caches, a couple of them actually mined out. You'll go to some of these outposts where, like, this part is all, you know, right underneath the miners is dead. Same with this end. But it means that because we have the mining productivity, plus we have the speed modules and the speed beacons, that my wagons fill up fairly quickly. Each miner has a mining speed of 3 items per second, plus the extra, we're going to call it 10 per pass. So it means I'm actually mining 33 items per second from this miner and another 33 from this miner, roughly. So this is getting 66 ore per second. We got another train. That's why it fills up so fast. It is insane how fast these things fill up. So I really liked, I really enjoyed and really glad I did the mining outpost like this. Also on top of that, Train Supply Manager was such a lifesaver. The fact that a train to leave a station. Obviously, wherever you're going is short on copper. Can I have a train leave a station, please? Nope. Well, as you can see, this one's starting to mine out in sections. I'm going to watch both these trains, hopefully. Oh, that one's moving. Okay. So, because I've used Train Supply Manager, I've actually prioritized that the iron from here goes to this this module. Where's another one? Oh, that one. The ore from this outpost is obviously, I'm assuming prioritized there, but at the same time, like, if this one needs ore, it's calling from, like, its closest, and it's just how Train Supply Manager was set up. It was a little bit of a nightmare for me to change things over because I didn't future plan for the change, but it was well worth it in the end. I need to do that. Do not get hit by a train. I'm so getting hit by a train. Oh! So getting hit by a train in the last episode. I'm not carrying nukes, so at least I won't nuke myself. So, one of the, I guess, frustrations. Frustrations is definitely probably the best way of putting it. One of the frustrations with this series has been let's just dump my inventory before I forget. There we go. One of the frustrations with this series has been inserters. Okay, I'll be honest. Inserters have really, they've given me nothing but hassles this series. And I guess the best way to demonstrate this is if we go to the 10-hour clock, you can see we're doing 14.4 satellites per minute, which means we're launching 14.4 rockets per minute. Now, if you remember back to our original module, this one, the very first one we placed down, we got all the kinks worked out of it. We were doing 5 rockets per minute. Everything worked perfectly. And then we duplicated it. Well, we came and built this to actually make satellites and silos. And then we came and built this module. And it was a 1-for-1 copy of this. Like, I blueprinted it, including all the concrete, all the train tracks. It was a 1-for-1 copy. Like, nothing could change. Nothing could be anything different. It didn't work. If you remember, I had like 2 or 3 whole episodes dedicated to try and getting the, well, maybe not dedicated. I had several hours with me just trying to get the oil working. If we go back to the original oil. Yeah, this one worked out of the gate. It worked. It ran. It was perfect. The defining factor I had to look for was making sure that oil was here, here, and here. All these were full of like 90 oil per second. And it didn't happen when I put down the second blueprint. On top of that, can we see it? No. Well, we can see it. So you can see like this one, the rocket fuel's not backing up. This machine is not getting stuck. Having rocket fuel it can't output. Same with this one. They're not getting stuck. If we go look at the third blueprint, rocket fuel at this end, again, it's not getting stuck, it's not getting backed up. This one, not getting stuck, not getting backed up. Neither's this one. Like, everything's running perfectly. We go look at the first one, and this happened after the fact. I had to add this spaghetti on the end to make sure that both of these fed into both sides of the belt, because they actually got backed up. They got backed up and caused the whole system to back up. And they really shouldn't have at all. But they did, repeatedly. Another classic example is Speed Module 1. So Speed Module 1s, we have 5 rows. So we can see 5 assemblers there. And it meant these 2 rows are outputting onto one side of the belt. These 2 rows are outputting onto the other side of the belt. This row is outputting to half onto one side and half on the other. And simple math says that should work. Simple math says that, you know, the inserters should keep up, everything should be fine. And what I actually have is like this one and this one are outputting on the right hand side of the belt. And then we swap things from the right to the left, obviously. And this one's feeding in, and we're using a priority splitter to move like all the items required in theory to left hand side of the belt, or to this side of the belt to then get moved to left hand side of the belt. And as you can see, there's gaps in the belt. Now, there shouldn't be gaps in the belt. In fact, up here, there shouldn't be any gaps in the belt, because this build actually does, if we just run max rate calculator over the whole thing, it does 44.28. So, okay, technically there should be gaps, but they should be very tiny gaps. Those gaps are a lot bigger than 0.8 of an item per second. And it's not due to lack of items. Like, each one of these has buffer boxes. You can see the buffer boxes are all full. They're all running. Everything should be perfect. But it's not. And that comes down to inserters. And belts. This was another one. Like, the rocket control units. So if we run max rate calculator over this build, we're only using 42 speed modules, compared to this build, which should output 44 speed modules. So we've got a little bit of overproduction there, because generally you want a little bit of overproduction, if at all possible. But the belt never backs up. Ever. Ever does the belt back up. And in fact, maybe it's going to do it again for me. Yep. These buffer boxes at the end are actually short. This one has nothing in it. This one has nothing in it. And it's a problem I've had plaguing me over and over. I actually had to... These were originally a 50-50 split. I actually had to prioritize the left-hand side to basically get the top 3 rows to work. Prior to that, the bottom row was working fine, and the top 3 rows were but I had to prioritize the left-hand side, and that fixed the problem. Another classic example is our low-density structures. As you can see, I have a buffer box for the first one, and here at the top one, I have a buffer box again for copper. But these middle 3 actually needed 2 buffer boxes to keep running, because inserters are a little bit organic in the way they run. Same with belts. They're just a little bit organic. They're one of the parts of Factorio that's not guaranteed. If I look at an assembler, well, let's use max rate calculator because I'm lazy. I know that if I feed this machine at the speed required, so 70 iron in per second, then we're going to get out 11.9 gears per second. And providing I can keep that ratio going and have the inserters move fast enough, everything is going to be fine. This is going to do exactly what it says it's going to. Inserters, on the other hand, with belts, not so much. Another classic example is I've got a smelter right here, which is, let's use deconstruction planner. We can see it's 9 smelters long, which is an odd amount. So you want 4 smelters outputting on one side of the belt, 4 smelters outputting on the other side of the belt, and then that extra smelter outputting onto both sides of the belt, because it needs to be a 50-50 split. And we're going to go back to... actually, we'll go to green circuits, because these smelters move flat out. Maybe they don't. Okay, they should do. But we can see, like, I have, you know, this one, this one, this one, and this one are all outputting on the right-hand side of the belt. This one, this one, this one, and this one are outputting on the left-hand side of the belt. This guy's outputting on both sides of the belt with a fairly long belt buffer, because just having the inserter right here, you know, side loading one tile, it's not enough. We actually need quite a number of tiles just to account for the inserter swing time, which again is like, it's a little bit frustrating. It's the copper. Oh, here's a better example. This one's moving a little bit faster. But you'll see, like, you know, this one swings and we have items disappearing off this side and occasionally off this side as well. And another great example is like green circuits. All these builds are identical. They're all being fed identically, yet I have gaps. Just occasionally along the belt, I'll have a gap. There's 2 more. And there's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no... It shouldn't happen. It should not happen, but it does. It does all the time. Because inserters are not perfect. And if we actually go back to Friday Facts 309, we have this post here from Twinson, which was one me and Mojo covered at the time we recorded the Friday Facts, and I sort of somewhat dismissed it and said, look, I really like inserters and belts. I like the fact that they're slightly organic. They're the only real organic part of Factorio. They're not as precise as everything else. The catch is, because they're not constant and they have a little bit of variation up and down in them, it means when we come back to Factorio, we bring up the production and we go to 10 hours, I'm launching 14.4 rockets per minute. Because of all these little skips, all these little deviations away from perfection. You know, that occasionally, well, like, that the last 3 machines here are not running at full speed. Now, in theory, if I came and added more speed modules around these and had these guys run a little bit faster and then went and backtracked back to my green circuits, and there's nothing I can do about green circuits. They're fully beaconed as possible. Maybe had more, like a second buffer box for iron and copper into all these. Well, actually, I've already got 2 buffer boxes. A third buffer box. Actually, this one's short. So that's probably where my faults are originating from. And in theory, oh, it's because that chest is broken. So I found the fault there. But that fault's not going to exist all the way through. And it's not just one belt that's got a problem. In fact, you're from this belt, which is actually not having any problems. It's from these guys down here, which you're running. Like, these builds are all perfect. They're all running beautifully, but I still get gaps in the belt. These builds, like there's gaps right there. These are all running perfectly. There's nothing wrong with them, but I still get gaps in the belt. And the only thing I can do is like add extra buffer boxes. Because maybe the assembler's not getting fed fast enough, or you know, there's a slight deviation with an inserter thinking about picking up and not picking up fast enough. You know, it's the fact that Factorio has its organic parts, which means that sometimes things don't work perfectly as expected. Speaking of things running perfectly as expected, a lot of people requested, or actually I asked the question. I asked the question. Nope, wrong one. I asked the question about rockets and should they launch in a set order or pattern. And lots of people posted that when it was just the first row of silos, they should launch left to right or right to left. And I never got around to doing anything about it. And I didn't get around to doing anything about it for a couple of reasons. One, I hate combinators. It was going to be one of those things that can only be controlled by combinators. Two, I need to set you to that. I need to set you to green signal equals 2. Yeah, I hate combinators, and it was one of those going to be one of those things that can only be set up by combinators. Main reason I hate combinators, it's twofold. Well, maybe a few reasons. One, I'm not that great at them, and the main reason I'm not that great at combinators is because honestly, I have played a lot of multiplayer. And when it comes down to the multiplayer environment, there's always going to be somebody who is quite good at understanding how belts work, but maybe not so good at understanding how combinators and smarts work. And if you're in a multiplayer environment and something breaks with something that involves smarts, generally one of two things happen. One, people rip it up, which is quite common and generally how I deal with smart things when they stop functioning, because it means they weren't terribly smart. Or you have to wait for the person who made the system to get online and actually fix the system. Which leads to another problem. When I've done a lot of soldering in my life, like not complicated circuits, fairly simple circuits, but some sort of circuitry nonetheless. And when you only have 2 wires to deal with, like a red wire and a green wire, and you go look at a project that you haven't looked at in whether it be a week or whether it be 6 months or whether it be 2 years, you have no idea what it does. None at all after a week, because just having the only 2 choice of colors means it looks like a mess. It looks like an absolute disaster. We want U1 is greater than 0. Output the input count, and we want U to be 100. I need to paste that there, and I need to paste that there. Set the second one. Actually, we'll paste that there real quick, and we'll set you to 100 to 200. Paste that there, and paste that there. Paste it there as well. Okay, yeah, no, I'm still on track. So you were 200 to 300. You get pasted there and there. Yep, I'm drawing a pattern. 300 to 400. It'll all become obvious in a moment. Trust me. That one and that one. And that one, we want to go from 400 to 500. There and there. And then we have our last set, which is 500 to 600. Okay. You'll notice all the silos have stopped because I'm setting up smarts. Because, as I said, a lot of people requested that I have rockets launch left to right, or right to left, or center to outside, or outside to inside. It really didn't matter. People made requests, and I looked at how to do it, and I came up with an idea of how to do it, and then we're going to attempt to implement this together and hope nothing blows up in our face. I'll disconnect that wire from there to there. So what I have here, with the bots flying over my head, is like a simple counter, and we have one less than, we set the top one at 600, so we'll do 600, output a 1, okay, off. So we have a constant combinator. Constant combinator is going to output a signal of 1. It's going to come into this decider combinator, which is looped back on itself. We can see that wire is coming from the output and going back to the input. And it's saying if 1 is less than 600, we're going to output the input count of 1 and keep going up. So as we're going 1, we put a number 1 of 1 in here. And then it's going to go over to here and then loop back on itself and give us a 2. And then go out and then loop back on itself and go 3, and so on and so forth. Which means when I turn this on, we should see we have the output signal on the right-hand side, which is just counting up over and over and over. It'll get to 600 and then reset back to 0. Okay? Sounds simple enough so far. And if I stop the input signal, it'll just stop at whatever number it was at. So if I disconnect that and reconnect that, we can reset the circuit and it's good to go. Next thing I need to do is hook that up, and I'm going to turn the UPS back down to 60 because we don't need to run around 2 times game speed. Now, over here, we're in the center row, so let's go start over here. I have if 1 is greater than 0, and 1 is greater than, less than, less than, and less than. Okay, you need to go there and there. You need to go. I love last minute mistakes that need to be fixed. At least I noticed it before I hit the go button. That goes there and there. That goes there and there, and that one should go there and there. Providing I've done all my pastes right, everything should be fine. So, if we have a 1 is greater than 0 and 1 is less than 100, we're going to output... I buggered it up twice. Okay, we're going to output 1 green signal. And the idea is, these two are saying if it's between 0 and 100, and this is the only way I could work out how to do that, we're going to output this to this stack filter inserter, and it's going to output, it's going to wait till it's got 2 green signals coming in, and then it's going to put a satellite in here. Now, I'm absolutely 120% positive there has to be a more elegant way of doing this. We want a green signal, and a green signal. I just couldn't come up with it, right? I had a counter, and as you see with the counter, and I set it to, you know, if the inserter read a 1, if this one read 100, if this one read 200, and in theory that would have worked, except the signal is being fired off at one number per tick, which is 60 per second, which was too fast for the inserter to actually receive the signal and do anything with. So it didn't swing. So I had to sort of come up with come up with some sort of way to give me a wider margin of error, which is why I now have these two combinators that saying, hey, if it's between this number and this number, you know, output that signal, flip that inserter, launch that rocket. And that's exactly what we're about to do. We're about to set all these off and launch our rockets. The other catch with this system is I have no way of reading when this silo is ready to go, or this silo, or that silo, or any of these silos, actually. I have no way of reading when they're ready to have a satellite put in there. So this guy should launch in, well, each one of these guys should launch in about 90 seconds, roughly. And that comes down to I'm technically not feeding them fast enough. Technically, I need 2 stack inserters to feed these at full speed, at which point they launch in 61 seconds. I've set it to 100 ticks, which is 1 second. Yeah, maybe I need to open up all my numbers wider. Whatever. This system somewhat works. Somewhat works being correct. Because what actually happens is slowly over time, you're wrong. Where do we get 50 from? First fail of the episode. Type in the wrong number. Okay. That was sort of anticlimactic because I screwed it up. Okay, so, as I was saying, because I don't have ways of reading whether the silos are ready to go, if one of the silos falls behind, it can mean it gets out of sync with all the other silos. And I know for a fact, if I tweaked with the numbers long enough and spent enough time tweaking with the numbers, I could probably get it fairly close to, you know, the 14.5 rockets per minute. The way we are set up currently, I actually have a little bit of a delay built in. So I'm sort of launching 1,000 ticks. So I'm launching over 16 seconds. That's my issue. Crap, you weren't ready. You weren't ready. Okay. Hit the reset button. It looked good when I first did it. Yeah, I went through a test run because me and circuits don't agree with one another. Okay, whilst we wait for this to have a test run, have a refill, I need to tell you guys about the next series. So the next series, I'm actually putting the vote out to you guys. This is over on Patreon. Link is down in the description, of course, for this exact post. I'm opening up to you guys, letting you guys vote on what we're going to do next. For a couple of reasons. One, during this actual series, we actually met the goal of 300 per month, which is, let me replace all the old hardware I had. So if you've been watching the channel for long enough and you know some of the back history, I had a top-end computer 5 years ago, which basically failed like 12 months ago. It was constant blue screens. I had like an hour and a half worth of stability before it gave up the ghost entirely. So it made doing any recording difficult at best. So yeah, in the last 12 months, due to the support of you guys, because anything you guys pledge towards the channel, either through YouTube memberships, Twitch subscriptions, Patreon, however you guys choose to help out the channel, all the money goes back into the channel. So I've replaced all the hardware. I've upgraded my modem, which means finally things are a little bit more stable around the house. It also means I'm now double the speed of my internet, so now we're only down to about an hour and a half, 2 hours to upload this particular video for you guys. At the same time, just recently, you'll notice down in the bottom right hand corner, if you actually look at the quality settings, you can actually take this video up to 1440p, because I just managed to upgrade the screen. So I'm now recording in a higher definition, well, recording with more pixels, 77% to be exact, according to YouTube. So yeah, it's more pixels, more quality, and it's all thanks to you guys. So I'm putting the option out to you guys. Go over to Patreon. You'll have to make an account. It's free. It takes a couple of clicks. It's not that hard. And then you can go in the polls, or go and vote in the polls for what crazy series I should do next. As you can see, there's plenty of options there. I am going to reserve the right to have a quick look at this at the mods and make a decision from there. And if they're really, really not bad, really, really time consuming, I might go to the second choice or the third choice. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I asked on my Discord for different suggestions of series of mod packs, and this is what Discord came back with, along with a couple that I handpicked myself. So yeah, go over to Patreon. As I said, links down in the description. Go and vote for what horrible, horrible, horrible series or horrible mod pack would you like to see me suffer through next? Because yeah, that's the plan, for me to suffer through. I don't know what next. Also, on top of that, I do need to remind people to keep in the back of their mind that the series is going to be potentially, like, this series was 95 episodes long because we built a Megabase. They take time. You failed. Why did you fail? 0, 1. Which means you've done the exact same thing, and you've done the exact same thing. Is greater than 1, and we're currently outputting a signal of 1. That was my fault. Okay, that fixes that problem. We'll wait another minute for them to cycle again. So, yeah, it's you need to keep in the back of the mind that these are all extended, like, mod packs, which are going to take a long time to get through a playthrough. So it means whatever you pick, it's probably going to be the main Factorio series for the next 3 to 5 months, depending on how long it takes. 100 episodes is, if you call it an episode a day, 3 months. But normally I do 5 episodes a week. So that's potentially like 4 or 5 months worth of, that is the main series on the channel. So choose wisely. Please, please choose wisely. Anyway, this rocket's ready, this rocket's ready, this rocket's ready. We're going to set up our loop first. Everything's ready to go. We're going to flick the on switch. And in theory, if I've done everything right for the 5th time, we should get a right to left, a left to right, and a right to left pattern across our three rows of silos. Voila, I'm a master. I'm a genius. I made it out. So, like I said, this has been a fun series. I've absolutely loved doing it. I have hated moments of this series as well. I wish to never see another solar panel in my life, at least for another week or 2. And at the same time, I need to thank you guys for watching. As always, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you even more if you've been here right from the very first episode through to now, and you've watched all of them. It is so appreciated. Everything you guys do, through the likes, the comments, the shares, even just watching the videos, it means so much to me, and it helps out the channel so much. On top of that, as always, being the last episode, the save file taken right now is down in the description below. So if you want to load up this map, if you want to have a browse around this map, if you want to see some of the crazy crap that I built, and hopefully I built correctly, by all means, down in the description, grab the save file, load it up on your own PC. See how much UPS you got. Please, by all means, download it, actually run it on your PC. I'd love to see some UPS counts from different players. Because I attempted to overclock my PC and I got nothing but blue screens of death. It was not fun. It was not fun. No, I'm still at 4.64 gigahertz. Not even like anything overclock. It was pretty boring. Anyway, that's it. I'm out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next series. You decide what it is. All right, bye.